This week in cruise news, an elevator confrontation turns violent, and no, it wasn't on a Carnival ship. Disney tests a high-tech fix for onboard wait times, and another cruise line is nickel and diming us even more by quietly raising prices again. From port cancellations to Real ID travel confusion, we're gonna cover it all, so let's dive right in. First, let's talk about the elevator incident. It started as just a simple request, but it ended in a pool of blood. A passenger aboard Royal Caribbean's Liberty of the Seas, nice old ship, I've sailed it before, but unfortunately was brutally attacked after asking a group of teenagers to please stop jumping in the elevator. The altercation, according to Broward County Police, it escalated quickly when the group first lashed out verbally and then escalated to a physical assault. And they assaulted the man as he exited on deck 8. He was struck in the face, he fell to the ground, and he was kicked until he was unconscious. Oh, what a terrible story. What's wrong with people? Michael White of North Carolina has been arrested and charged with felony aggravated battery. Thankfully, there are cameras all over pretty much every cruise ship. The victim was hospitalized, and Royal Caribbean has yet to issue a public statement. So I want to know, have you ever seen violence on a cruise ship? If you've sailed Carnival, probably. And I love Carnival, I do, but it does seem to happen more often on Carnival and Royal Caribbean. I have unfortunately seen several fights on both of those lines. So I want to know, how safe do you feel when cruising, and are there certain cruise lines that make you feel safer than others? Up next is a test of a change on Disney Cruise Line. Nobody likes waiting in line on vacation, and I'm a pretty chill cruiser, but I can't stand the lines. And as cruising demand is skyrocketing, it seems like the lines are getting crazier and crazier. So I, for one, welcome this on Disney and other cruise lines, but I want to know what you think. What's happening is that Disney Cruise Line is testing a new system aboard their Disney Wish. And what the system does is that it allows passengers to reserve onboard activities, like their Aqua water rides and their popular character meet and greets. And you do that and make those reservations using the DCL Navigator app. Now, this is a game changer for families that hope to avoid waits. And one of the things that I personally don't like about the Disney brand is the lines and the long waits. And if you are familiar with Disney, you know those character meet and greets can be really long 45-minute plus waits. But not everyone is on board. Some cruisers are worried that this reservation system is going to really put a damper on spontaneity, especially for kids who want to ride a ride over and over again. And they're also concerned, this one I think is a little bit more of a legitimate concern, at least my take, is tech issues. Cruise ship Wi-Fi is not always great, and even if you don't buy the Wi-Fi package and you're just trying to do things on the cruise line app, it's not always the most reliable thing. So there are a lot of questions here about usability, but I want to know, what is your take and vibe with cruising? Do you like to plan everything in advance with reservations, or are you more go with the flow? Up next, more nickel and diming. Tale as old as time, and as cruise demand is increasing, the cruise lines are trying to see what they can get away with, and they're starting to get a little egregious about it. As of April 15th, specialty dining fees have jumped on Princess Cruise Line ships to about $55 per adult. And onboard package upgrades are about to cost more if they're purchased after embarkation. The Princess Premier and Plus packages will each go up $5 per day starting May 1st. But here's a surprise. One dining venue on Princess, loved by Brito, actually lowered its fee. Shocker, right? From $79 down to $60. Now, that's a good sign, but it is definitely the anomaly. Now, the takeaway here, book your extras early and consider bundled packages if you're planning to splurge. A lot of times the cruise lines will grandfather you in if you've booked a cruise and then they up the price later, but not always. A lot of us Carnival cruisers got caught unawares back in the fall when they jacked up the Wi-Fi price and didn't give us a chance to pre-purchase on cruises that we had booked sometimes a year and a half out. So it's always helpful if you know you're going to buy these things to go ahead and just pay for them in advance so you don't get caught with price increases like this. Oh, and it's also a good reminder that when you're taking a cruise and you're incurring expenses, to use a travel rewards card instead of a debit card. I used a debit card for years and I finally saw the light. I got the Venture X Capital One card and that helps me cover my costs, obviously, but then I also earn points that I use for my airfare to get to and from cruises. And as you know, if you follow me, I already cruise for free on casino offers. I have a whole video about that I'll drop below. But I want to know, when it comes to onboard expenses, do you plan and pay ahead, or do you kind of pay as you go? Well, Carnival cruisers just got hit with another round of cancellations and some major confusion. I actually had someone email me about this and I had no idea. So he was going to visit Grand Turk on a Carnival ship. It got canceled. He was curious if it was due to political unrest, like what's happening in Labadee with Royal Caribbean recently canceling that port of call. So Carnival didn't necessarily do a really good job of communicating the change, and it did kind of create a little bit of chaos. So what happened is that Carnival dropped Grand Turk from multiple itineraries, but it wasn't due to any type of unrest in the area or travel advisory or danger or anything like that. But instead it was due to operational changes. Now, what the heck that exactly means, who knows? But anyway, they rerouted guests to Amber Cove in Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic instead. Also a great cruise port, I wouldn't be mad about it. But the bigger shakeup and some more confusion came with some dry dock changes. Now, everyone's known for a while that Carnival Magic is going into dry dock, but that refurbishment was rescheduled for spring of 2026, leading to the cancellation of a number of sailings. And that change also bumped Carnival Horizon, which I just sailed, nice ship. They had a transatlantic voyage from Barcelona and that got canceled. Now, of course, Carnival is trying to make amends with the people who were impacted, offering refunds and rate protections for rebooked guests. But many passengers are struggling to find comparable alternatives. Some folks had flights already booked or other travel arrangements. So I want to know, have you ever had a cruise canceled last minute? I don't think I would like it, but of course, in cruise world, you got to go with the flow sometimes. And Carnival's not the only cruise line canceling sailings. MSC is also doing it too, and for some of the same reasons, dry dock. MSC guests set to sail on the Seashore in April 2026 got a disappointing update. Their cruise has been canceled due to scheduled dry dock maintenance. Now, I love Seashore. I love all of MSC's big ships. I hate their old ships. Never sail Magnifica. Seriously, never sail Magnifica. But their bigger ships, their newer ships are really nice. And I was just on Seashore in the last year, and I'm actually surprised it's going into dry dock, but that's good. That shows that MSC is committed to keeping their beautiful ships beautiful. And MSC does have some of the most beautiful ships I've ever seen. But anyway, Seashore sailings have been canceled due to scheduled dry dock maintenance. Guests, of course, can rebook without fees, but new sailings are subject to current pricing. So this cancellation can be frustrating, but MSC, of course, says, as I mentioned, this is necessary to uphold those ship standards. So yeah, I applaud cruise lines for maintaining their ships because not all cruise lines do a great job of that. And by the way, if your sailing is years out, try to keep an eye on the dry dock calendar and have a plan B. Next, real ID confusion. Now, we've had a lot of years to plan for this, but the government doesn't always communicate things really well. Shocker, I know. But this has created a lot of chaos. As of May 7th, travelers flying domestically will finally, because they kept pushing the date back, they're finally going to need a real ID to board flights. But cruise passengers, take note, it's not necessarily required for the cruise itself. While you'll need a real ID if you're flying to and from your embarkation port, these are round-trip cruises to and from the same U.S. port destination. Most of them will still accept a birth certificate and ID combination, although I'm a big advocate for just going ahead and getting your passport. There's a lot of reasons why. I have an article about it. Check it out. So even though you don't have to have a passport to cruise, I strongly encourage everyone to do that. It's really not that hard these days. It's pretty simple, it's pretty fast. But anyway, the confusion about Real ID has some cruisers scrambling, so make sure to double check your documents, especially if you're trying to fly to port in the next month or two. And as always, check with the cruise line of the documents that they require. Make sure you have your documents in order. If you are traveling with a passport, make sure you understand the 6-month passport validity rule, especially if you're flying internationally. And I have a guideline on cruising with passports. Again, I've shared the link also down in the comments. But I want to know, are you ready for the Real ID change? This has been the year of big new ships. And the newest big boy, or big girl, I think ships are girls, is Norwegian Aqua. The new Norwegian Aqua is 10% larger than her sister ships, and it brings a fresh new lineup of attractions. Now, obviously Norwegian here is trying to keep up and compete with the other cruise lines that really are taking the stance of bigger is better. They're following the lead of other cruise lines like Carnival with their Bolt roller coaster, and they're introducing the Aqua slide coaster. This is actually even cooler. It's a roller coaster / water slide hybrid that replaces their Prima class racetrack. There's more pool space, there's a Thai restaurant, there's overhauled entertainment. They're gonna do a tribute to Prince. I'm all about that. in their Aqua Theater, and it's going to be a whole new, bigger and better experience. Aqua will sail the Caribbean from Port Canaveral, then head to New York this fall. So I want to know, is bigger better? I love the big cruise ships. I love the amenities of them, but I know not everyone does. But I want to know what you think. Let me know down in the comments. And finally, Ohio welcomes its first cruise ship. And no, it's not April Fool's Day. That was a while ago. It's not a joke. Toledo, Ohio just made cruise history. The Victory One is scheduled to dock at the end of May, marking the first cruise ship visit in over a generation. Now, if you follow Carnival brand ambassador John Heald, he's a funny guy. He's been their ambassador for like a million years. He always makes this joke about Carnival sailing from Ohio, but this time it's not a joke. So it's not a Carnival ship, but it's a Victory Cruise Line ship, but it proves it can be done. Now, this isn't the traditional cruise that you're probably thinking of or that you're used to, but in this case, guests aboard the Victory One will have the chance to enjoy the National Museum of the Great Lakes. They can explore the revitalized Glass City Riverwalk and all of the other things that the city has to offer. Now, this is a one-day test call, but local leaders are optimistic that it could become a regular stop. So I want to know, would you be excited to see more Great Lakes cruises or river cruises domestically in the future? I love some ocean cruises, but personally, I think that sounds kind of cool. So that's it for this week's cruise news. Make sure to drop a comment with your thoughts. I love to chat with you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and always visit my website, profmelissa.com, for free port guides, cruise tips, and planning tools. See you next week.